So now let's focus on some of the recent changes to the National Quality Framework. So Rhonda, I know there have been changes to the National Quality Framework for Australian Education and Care Services. What is the background to these changes?
The Australian education and care sector is currently experiencing an exciting time of change in the National Quality Framework, the NQF. That's the national approach to regulation, assessment and quality improvement for early childhood education and care and outside school hours care in Australia. The National Quality Standard, or the NQS, is a key component of the NQF, along with the national law and regulations, the approved learning frameworks and the assessment and rating process. Changes to the NQF followed a review that began in 2014. The review aimed to determine if the goals of the NQF to improve the quality of education and care were being met. And some proposed options for change to the NQF were tested with sector, the families and communities. Overall, the review found the NQF to be an important and successful reform with strong stakeholder support. Support of the NQF has been consistently high, more than 95% since its inception. However, some technical and operational improvements were required after 5 years of operation. These improvements reflect the intent to continuously improve the quality, efficiency and effectiveness of the NQF, whilst reducing unnecessary burden on stakeholders such as providers. For example, there's an opportunity to streamline and clarify the NQS and reduce some of the duplication between the regulations and the NQS. The performance of the family daycare sector against the NQS meant that improved oversight of and support within family daycare services was necessary. Administrative requirements with regard to serious incidents required clarification and amendment. In consideration of safety issues associated with sudden infant death syndrome, sleep and rest policies and procedures have been introduced. Changes to the law and regulations were introduced from 1 October 2017 and changes to the NQS commenced on 1 February 2018. The NQS underpins quality and quality improvement across education and care services. Services are assessed and rated by their regulatory authority against the NQS and given a rating for each of the 7 quality areas and an overall rating based on these results. The 2018 NQS aims to strengthen quality through greater clarity, removal of conceptual overlap between the NQS elements and standards, and clarification of language. As a result, the 2018 NQS has fewer standards and elements, 15 standards instead of the previous 18 and 40 elements instead of the previous 58. Streamlining the standards and processes aim to remove duplication between the NQS and regulations and therefore minimise paperwork burden for services. For example, the quality improvement planning process and self-assessment processes relating to element 7.2.1 should be streamlined given that there are 18 less elements to focus on. In the 2018 NQS, the key quality concept has also now been distilled for each standard and element and is indicated in a concept column that provides simple shorthand for navigating the NQS. For example, the key quality concepts for the 3 standards in Quality Area 1 are program, practice and assessment and planning. The new concept column for each standard and element can assist with educator understanding of the NQS and also be a useful tool for enhancing communication with families and communities and sharing information about the NQS. The 2018 NQS also has some changes to assessment and rating. For example, to achieve a rating of exceeding National Quality Standard for any standard, 3 exceeding National Quality Standards themes need to be demonstrated in service practice and in the standard. This will be covered in more detail in the next video. While the changes herald an exciting time for the sector, we need to appreciate that change can challenge organisations and be resisted by individuals. Leading through change is a key responsibility of early childhood education and care leaders and is particularly important in the light of our dynamic sector and the fundamental principle of ongoing quality improvement. So to support services and educators through the NQF and NQS changes, ACECQA has conducted an ongoing education and communication program for the past year to ensure services were aware of the changes and could start their strategic planning. To communicate the changes, educate the sector and support them in terms of implementing the changes, ACECQA has worked with the Australian State and Territory regulatory authorities and has released a new 2018 Guide to the National Quality Framework to help education and care providers, educators and authorised officers understand and apply the NQF. In addition, ACECQA has developed and implemented revised National Authorised Officer training to promote consistency and best practice in the assessment and rating process. We've engaged in presentations, interviews and podcasts to explain the changes. We've developed a suite of resources to support services and educators understand and implement the changes. In particular, the Guide to the National Quality Framework available on the ACECQA website is a really useful resource. It goes into more detail about the changes to the Exceeding rating that we're going to unpack in more detail in the next video.